Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be learning about Unified Checkout. This is a CyberSource product. So let's read what it is. So Unified Checkout provides a single interface with which you can accept numerous types of digital payments. Unified Checkouts call other follow-up services such as Payments Decision Manager and Pair Authentication. So we'll be doing a hands-on today. I have a POC. So we'll be going through that POC and we'll understand how to implement this in our code. So this will be a Java based programming. So if you are familiar with Java, you should be able to understand the overall implementation. So without any more delay, let's start. So to do that, let's first check what it is or how it will work. So this is the latest way how to implement the payment gateway in or using CyberSource. So they have their latest platform is like unified checkout. So after implementing this one in my means in your site, you will be seeing a screen or front end like this one, where you will get the options to pay it using card or with Apple Pay or Google Pay. And then we'll go through this means while we'll be implementing in our local machine. uh, to start with it, let's first see if we have a CyberSource account setup. So I have created a sandbox in CyberSource. So this is my organization ID. So if you don't know how to create it, you can see several videos in YouTube which is present how to create a sandbox in CyberSource. If you don't find anything, please post in a comments. I'll create another video to create an account, how to create a sandbox account in CyberSource. For now, I have created already. So this is my username, this is my password. Don't worry, even if I'm showing the password, I'll get a OTP in my mail and then only I can log in. So without OTP, no one can use my password as well. So okay, I'll save it, and then I got a mail OTP. So what I need to check my email for the OTP, and I got the OTP. So this is 74951237. So now I am in uh, business center users. Some of the URLs might know. Okay, that's okay. So if you see, now I'm inside my sandbox account. So this is the account ID and this is the merchant ID. So these are useful, right? When we'll be doing the transactions, we need to pass these informations to CyberSource, that which sandbox we are using. Then payment configuration. So here, okay, let me see what all keys we have created. All that's yeah. So if you see, these are the keys I have created. So I'll be using any of the REST secrets, REST share secret. So how to create these keys? So first thing, you need to go to the key management, and then you need to create this generate key. Then you have to create this, you have to select this REST share secret. So we have to create a key which will be REST share secret. So and then when you click this generate key, you will get that key and you will receive something like let me show you. You'll be seeing something like key ID and share secret like this. So for now, I since I already have right many, I am not going to create another key, or I can create, let's see, means it don't harm anything to create another key. These are all okay. Simple, we don't need simple order, we don't need secure acceptance here, we just need REST API, and then we'll generate key. So if you see, it has created another new key. This is the key and this is the shared secret, and if you download it, here also you can see this one. Mm, yeah, if you see, you have the key and the shared secret, so we need to use this. So inside CyberSource account, we in Sandbox, we have to create a shared secret key, REST API shared secret key. That is the first thing. So once we have done that, we can go to this payment configuration and we can create this unified checkout. So once we click this unified checkout, here you can, now I have managed, but initially you have to set up the unified checkout thing. So what you will see, if you see, I have set up Apple Pay, I have set up Click to Pay, and I have set up uh, Google Pay. So these are the options you will be seeing for the first time to set up. So once you set up, that's it. So we are done here in CyberSource Sandbox. So basically what we need, that share secret key and those details. And next, what we'll do, you need to search in Google like CyberSource Unified Checkout GitHub project or GitHub project, whatever. If you do that, the first thing you'll see this particular link, CyberSource Unified Checkout sample Java. And if you click it, you'll go to the project. So this is the POC they have done and for you to implement. So you can use this POC, and then and that's what I'm going to use. I just downloaded this POC, this code, and then I'll change accordingly as per they have mentioned, and then I'll run it in my local and I'll do transaction. So you need Java 16 and higher, and Maven 3.x or higher, and I have those. I have Java 17, and then setup instructions. So what they are saying, let me first show you the project. So this is the project, Spring Unified Checkout, and what they are saying is application.properties, uh, uncomment the properties below in application properties with your CyberSource REST credentials created in the EBC portal. So I just showed you how to create that CyberSource REST credential in EBC2 portal. Now you have these three informations, right? This is what I just showed. So this is first information, merchant ID, and I showed you like when you generate the key, you have this key and the shared secret. So these are the three informations you need. Okay. So you just uncomment it. What I have done, instead of using application.properties, I have created another one, just not doing anything. So in this application.properties, if you see, we have mentioned here Spring profiles active local. So the local profiles will be activated. And for that, I have created a application local.properties. This is I have created, and I copied everything from application.properties to that uh, application local.properties. But here you cannot mention this thing, means let me show you again. You just need to remove this part. This don't, means even if you copy it, just delete this part from application local.properties, because it cannot point to another local.properties. This is itself is the local application local.properties, right? Now all these things are given. So they have a certificate, and this is where they have stored this certificate, P12 certificate, and this comes along with this code. And this is where they have stored, if you see key store, this is that certificate, and you don't need to do anything with that. They have their own password, so you don't need to mess with that, just keep it as is. Then these are also keep as is. So this thing, right, means we have to use HTTPS, so that's why server SSL enable true, means to connect with server source we need to call through HTTPS, so that's why we have this one, server SSL enable true. Next thing is I use these three things which I just showed based on my secret key. So I used my merchant ID. How to show? Yeah, I use my merchant ID and then the keys, right? I have my keys, so I used the keys and the shared secret. And that's it for now. This is we don't need for our POC, so we'll keep this commented. And where we'll be hitting api test.cybersource.com. So this is the uh, test URL where we'll be hitting. So this is the run environment, and for now that's it. I'll slowly explaining each and every steps how it works. So when we are done till here, let me see what else we can do. So we have set up the keys here. You can obviously means all these things which I did by going through this document. So it's a big document and it has most of it in it. It's a little complex, but please go through it once just to understand how these things works. So this is the link. I'll share this link in that video description somewhere. And then uh, this is the POC actually. I'll share this POC link as well from means which you can download easily and can use it. Now let's build this project. So now I am inside this project source folder, and then what I'll do mpn. You can do mpn clean install or you can do mpn clean compile. I'll do clean install. So let's do mpn clean install. So it will create the jar. If you do clean compile, it won't create the jar, but it will compile freshly, right? Means clean will delete all those existing classes and all. And then, so you can run either ambient clean install or ambient clean compile. So now this is successfully built. Now I'll run it. So I have this one ambient spring boot run. So I'm running this application now. Let it come up. Okay, so this is done. Started, you see, started Unified Checkout application. So it's running on port 8080. Now, since it is running on HTTPS, I can, okay, I have to be, okay, I'll go here, transaction management, transactions. Once we do the transaction, we should be able to see our transactions here. So that's another thing we need to validate. So at this point, if you see, these are all old transactions done on November 7th, and today is November 9th. So for now, let's try to run the application. HTTPS /localhost 8080. So this is the application homepage. So if you see the application now, let's go to the controller. So we don't need to check this controller. Click to pay drop down, drop in UI controller. We will just check this particular controller, which is how you can implement in your website. So this has a different implementation which I'm not going to cover in this video. And to understand this, if you see this one here, it's mentioned. So this is the unified checkout. Embrace the future of online payments with unified checkout. Your pre-configured multi live reducing development bundle. So this is what we are going to use. And this is the other controller that functionality has mentioned here. So experience secure. So this is click to pay drop in UI, and which we are not going to implement at this point, right? So next, see, now when we click 8080, what happens? So if you come to this controller and if you see, this is that mapping which will return to index. So index will basically open up where is the template. So index will open this index.html. So this is what we are seeing now, this index.html. Then if I click this one, let's see what is here. So if I inspect this one, this is basically calling action is /UC overview. Okay, so if I click this one, it will call /UC overview. So let's see what we have in controller. So in controller, UC overview is doing this thing. So it's doing means it's basically returning us back to this place, UC overview. And line count, context capture JSON. So it is basically creating a request JSON, adding it to the attribute request JSON. How it's creating? So it's creating UC capture context request JSON, and then it's making a toString, and then it's adding it to the model. Okay, and then it's returning back to this JSP. So let's see what is this UC capture context request JSON. So for those two features, right? Let go back again. This one and this one, we are not going to cover this one. This one is everything, means we can implement whole unified checkout using this sample or example. So here we have a payload given. Okay, so this is the payload. For your application, you have to generate this payload before you call this kind of link. So let me hit this one. So if you see, this is the payload it has generated. So this payload is nothing but this payload, the sample payload it has used in this application. Default UC capture context request JSON. Let's understand this payload. So this payload has a target origin, means where from the call is coming. Okay, so the call is coming from my local browser, which is HTTPS, and if it is your site abc.com, so it will be like https://abc.com, like that. Okay, client version at this point, I heard they are using 30 probably is the latest version. So let's change it to 0.30. And then allowed card network. So whatever cards are allowed, so whatever you pass here in this payload, those are the cards it will show. And then allowed payment types, click to pay and Google Pay. At this point, I just have used whatever the default payload is. So you can pass Apple Pay and whatever is applicable right here. Allowed payment types. Country US, local UNUS, billing type full, request email true, request full. So you can change based on your requirement this payload, but we have to come up with a similar payload, means we have to build similar payload. So it has all these informations, capture mandate. So this is the capture mandate, so which need this kind of parameters. And here ship to countries, so based on this one we can pass it to US and Great Britain. You can just pass US only, that's okay. Then order information, you have to create an order information for you. Here it's hard coded $21, 21 USD. Bill to address, so we are passing hard coded bill to address and ship to address. If you don't want to pass this ship2 address, right, you can remove this one from the payload and mark it here. uh, where is that? Yeah, request shipping, you can mark it as false, so it don't needed the shipping information. So I hope you understood this payload. The first thing is we have to create this payload, and then we have to implement this functionality here, right? And whatever I just explained, this is what it says here. So by making this call, now if I click this generate capture context, it will make a call to CyberSource. And how it will do that, I'll show you in a minute. But this is the payload we have generated, and now let's go through this text. Once you are ready to render the checkout page, you need to request the capture context from UPv1 capture context endpoint. So we have to hit this endpoint. The capture context request below drives unified checkouts behavior, including accepted payment types, card network, blah blah blah, which I just described now, right? So the request produces a JWT that is used to initialize unified checkout. So when I'll call this one to CyberSource with this payload, they will return us back a JWT. Let's see how it happens. So if I click it, now the call is happening, and see, this is the your request return the capture context encoded as JWT. This JWT contains all of the information to start the unified checkout widget on your checkout page. There is JavaScript URL, SRI hash, and more, all cryptographically signed by Visa. So what it is saying is now CyberSource has returned based on our payload, whatever we sent, capture context payload, they will pass us a JWT. This JWT we have to decode in our code, and I'll show how they have done it. So when we will decode it, then we will get informations like this out of this JWT. So decode capture context. If you see here, there are lots of informations here in that JWT, and one of the main informations which we'll need to use in later part of this call is this one, this client library. So now we need to bring that page, right? Means this page, this details from CyberSource, right? Means where to enter the credit card or whatnot, right? Means Google Pay or Apple Pay. So that will come from this JS, secure acceptance JS. So this JS has been passed by the means through the JWT, which will get after decoding, and it's giving a integrity hash SHA, right? So we need to decode it, and then we need to uh, add them in a HTML so that this page can be loaded. Okay, hope you understood, and let's go through the code so it will make everything clear to you. Now, okay, let's see that call. Controller, right? This is the controller we said we'll see. Now, this is the capture context we called, right? With that payload, means this payload which we just showed. So using this payload, we made this call actually, this capture context. What it did, it called the service request capture context. So if we go to this service, this is that service where it is basically we are using SDK, CyberSource SDK to make this call. And if you see capture context API generate unified checkout capture context, this was the call made, and this is the request, capture context request. And what happened, this has returned a JWT which we just showed, and then we are first we are verifying the JWT and get decode body, and we are decoding it, and after decoding it we got these decode bodies as a string. Okay, and then we are getting this client version. So out of that decode body we are getting this client version, and then we are adding everything in a model. Capture context JWT, this is the raw JWT, the decode body, this one, this also we are adding it, and then we are also adding this client version, unified checkout library version, and then we are returning it back to capture context. So we have a capture context HTML, so it will coming back here. Now when it will come here, from that capture context, you see here capture context encoded JWT try decoding decode body. So here we are showing that decode body which we saw here just now. This one is decode body, and now we are calling this checkout. Okay, and when we'll be calling this checkout, we will be adding the client these two informations basically. Let me show it again. This two information, this one to load that uh, uh, screen, right, or to load that unified checkout functionality. So these are the this is the library which will load that unified checkout. Now from here we are basically calling this checkout, right, after having all these details. Now let's see what this checkout is doing. Checkout, 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 checkout. Where is my controller? Here. Yeah. So this checkout will return just a checkout JSP, right? If we call a checkout, it will return a checkout JSP. So let's go to the checkout and HTML. If you see here, this is very important. So we are just opening up a JSP, or means HTML, checkout HTML, and here somewhere we might be loading those JS. Yeah, we must be loading those JS here. Hidden, if you see, this is where we are doing it. Input hidden, JWT, capture context JWT, unified checkout library version. So this is where we are loading that script. You see, this is where we are loading the script. And then let's do that, right? Let's do that. So it will happen when, okay, we'll be clicking this one. Now launch checkout page, right? So if I click this launch checkout page, you see now this has been loaded. So this has loaded that unified checkout page. Okay, I hope it's clear now how we are loading it. So by clicking that button, we are loading this checkout HTML, and here we are loading whatever we had in that previous call, right? All these informations, all these informations we are having here, and we are loading that JavaScript from this HTML. Okay, and then now we are here, and now all the control is with CyberSource, right? Because this page, or this is basically coming from that JavaScript, so we do not have any control on our application anymore. So this is all about CyberSource. So we are not even entering the credit card details inside our website, right? We are entering in CyberSource website. So let's click it. So these are the contact information which we passed in our initially capture context request, right? So this email ID and phone number, and then we'll say continue, and now it's asking us to enter the credit card number. So we'll enter the credit card number. We'll do 16 digits. So this is a test card. You can check in CyberSource site, or here also it tells you what all cards you can use. Yeah, so these are the test cards you can use. So this is a 3DS challenge card, and this is a MasterCard 3DS challenge will be issued. This is a Visa card with 3DS only. This is a norm frictionless 3DS card. The difference is frictionless card means you won't see any additional pop-up like OTP or something. That is frictionless card. So for this card you won't see any pop-up. If you use these cards, and you will see the pop-ups, means additional authentication is needed with OTP. So now let's give the okay, and then give these details. All these things are pre-populated because we passed all these informations in our payload, right? Initial payload, capture context payload. So from there it has populated. Now continue. No thanks. Now confirm and continue. So if you see, next is what it will do. Let's go back to the code. Controller. So after we do this checkout, right, then the next call is token. So we are basically CyberSource, we are passing that, means we entered all those informations, right, and hit submit. So CyberSource basically generated a transient token and passed us back. So this is that page where unified checkout returned a transient token. So CyberSource basically created this transient token and passed us back, so that we don't have to handle raw credit card informations. Going forward, we'll be using this transient token for this transaction. So process payment customer, below you can view the transient token in JWT and decrypted form and choose either process payment. So if we click this one, this will go to another use case where a 3ds pop-up will come. So we can check that later on, but for now let's see how the normal scenario happens, right? So this is a process payment. So now and this is how the transient token looks like, right? So this is a decoded version of the transient token. This is very important, JTI. And then we also can see this token thing. So this is that call. Will once the call is coming from CyberSource, right, this method will be called token, where we will be decode the transient token created by CyberSource, and we'll add it in encoded transient token and decoded transient token. So we'll have this data, and then we'll return to token. Token is basically nothing but this token.html, which we are now seeing it, right? So now what we'll do, if we call this one, basically we are passing that transient token back to CyberSource. Let's see what it is. Yeah. So we are calling receipt. If you see here, we are calling receipt. So if I call this one, we will be calling this method, this one, yeah, this one, and we'll be passing that transient token. If you see here, what we are passing is, we are calling that payment service make payment with transient token, and we are passing the model.get in get attribute encoded a transient token. So this is whatever we stored here, the transient token, this is what we are passing now back to CyberSource. And let's go to this service and see what it is doing. So it is basically uh, creating a payment request. If you see this payment request, what it is doing, it is basically create payment request. It is getting that transient token, final create new request, client reference info and token information. So it's creating a new request, and uh, basically it's adding that transient token in the request. So this is that request where we have the transient token, and then we are calling payment API. This is CyberSource SDK, and then we are calling this method create payment by passing that payload, and then whatever response we are getting, we are passing that response back to the caller, means our controller, right? So what happens here, and then we are calling our HTML call receipt. So this receipt HTML will be called, where we will be showing that your payment is successful based on the response and all, right? So let's see, let's do that. So if I do this call, so if you see, your payment was processed successfully. So this is where our overall transaction is completed through unified checkout, and we got this response basically, and based on this response we can show success or failure. So somewhere in our response there is a status called authorized. That means our uh, call or whatever payload we pass, that has been authorized, so that amount has been authorized on that card. So that's what it is saying. So this will be the final result when our call will be authorized, right? So this is the overall scenario how unified checkout will or is working, right? And everything I tried to explain from this code perspective. Next we see, let's see that other part, which is the 3ds one. So Now since I have done one transaction, okay, first, since I have done the transaction, let's first validate that transaction is there, right? So I have to again log in to this portal to see if I can see my transaction. And then again the password will come to my mail, for which I have to wait a minute, means couple of seconds probably, until I receive the mail. Yeah, I received the mail. Now it's 89827173. Then now let's go to the transactions and try to see if I can see my transaction now. So we did a $21 transaction just now, right? So if you see, this is last one was 7th November, and this is just now November 9, and test payment, and this is $21 USD. So if you see a decision manager and then card payment authorized. Okay, so I hope it's now all clear. We'll go to here and we can see more information about this transaction. Come on. Okay, so if you see here, every information is here. So the merchant ID is used, this is a request ID, this is unique for each transaction and all. And then customer Victor Vaughan. So if you see, you can match it with this payload, the customer name, you see this one, Victor Vaughan, and also this is our request and this is the details of the request. So I use this 4 and 1511, sorry, 151 as a card number. So this is that card, and this is the overall thing. So this is how we have successfully implemented unified checkout in our application. Now just to I'm trying to show you the one last thing, how to use the 3ds. 3ds means there will be some scenarios where we need to create a pop-up, right? Means we need a OTP. So how that will happen? So everything is same till here. We'll get the JWT, we'll decode it, and then we'll open that front end here. Till now everything is same. Now check out this card, we have to use a different card. So let's try to use the other card, which is Visa test card. So we'll be using this card, and let's see, continue, and this is the other card. And continue, don't need to save anything, confirm and continue. And this is where the transient token has been generated. So again, CyberSource has generated, right? When I submitted that details, and CyberSource now has generated the transient token. So now we went to this path, right, which was easy. Then we are making a call to CyberSource using the transient token. Now here it's little different. Let's see how it has been implemented. So here we are calling pair authentication setup. Okay, so first call is pair authentication setup. So to generate that pop-up for the OTP, what we have to do, we have to controller pair authentication setup. So we are calling this particular endpoint actually. So what it is doing, it's basically using that transient token, a decoded version of the transient token, and it is creating the setup pair authentication. Okay, so let's see what it is doing internally. So if you see here, I told you this is very important, the JTI in the transient token, means when we decode it, this JTI is important. So what it is doing now, it is basically uh, figuring out the JTI out of the decoded version of the transient token, and it is passing that JTI. If you see here, it's passing that JTI to make this call. So pair auth setup request, it's passing the JTI and then it's calling CyberSource API pair auth setup. Okay, so now let's do that. Okay, here, so it will do that service call pair auth setup. Okay, now this has happened, the call is coming, so I got a response back from this one. It says completed. Okay, then what will happen, once that will be coming back, it will be here, and then we have to call this pair authentication enrollment. So first you have to do the setup, then you have to do the enrollment. Now this call is the continue to enroll. So if you click, if you see here, this is basically the next thing. When you got the response back, we are calling pair authentication enrollment. If you see here, so next we have to call this pair authentication enrollment, and then what it is doing is enrollment. We are if authentication successful, pair authentication response. So we are making this enrollment call in the service, and based on this response, we are checking if it is successful. Authentication successful, then no pop-up is needed. If it is pending authentication, then we need to open the pop-up, and this is how it is mentioned, right? So let's do that. Let's click that option, click to enroll. So you see, this is the pop-up has been created. This is the pop-up. You will be in your real-time scenario, you will see this pop-up opening up, and you will get the OTP in your mobile from the bank, and then you have to pass it. So this is how the pop-up has been generated. This was the call service enroll pair authentication. So this is how. So again, this JWT we are using, and then we are uh, making a call to CyberSource for enrollment, and then we are loading a blank page here. If you see here, return URL is blank page. So this blank page, where do you have the blank page? This is what we are loading. This is a blank page, and here the pop-up will load. Okay, now this is that pop-up. So let's enter what it says. Enter 1234 1234. Then when I will be submitting it, it will the connection blocked because it was initially public page. Okay, so I'm getting a course error. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm getting a course error. It needs to be handled differently. So because of my browser, I'm getting a course error. If I test this same thing in a different browser, I probably won't be getting a course error. Let me do the testing. So I'll be testing here. Localhost colon 8080 advance. It's okay. All these things we now know. We create a transient token. We came here. Still loading. Now what will be passing will be passing this thing, continue, pay with card, and then 9, whatever you want to provide, 321, and then we use this card which should create the pop-up. And I don't need this, confirm and this. So now we have to go to this route, perform 3DS. So now enrollment will create the pop-up. It has created. I'll provide 1 2 3 4, and I'll submit, and you see, now I didn't see that, means the error I saw here, right? I knew this is basically because of the course error. If I can open the network tab, I can see that. But yeah, since I know now, right? So next thing is same. So after, so we did these two things, right? First is we did setup, pair authentication setup, and then we did pair authentication enrollment. And then next is this blank page we did, and then pair authentication validation. So now we had that pair authentication validation. So this last step, when we click that we enter the OTP and click that button, it's basically made this call pair authentication validation. And now uh, we got authentication successful basically. So if you see here, this is the response for that. And if you see authentication successful, so we got this one. And then what we'll do now, we got a transient token, same thing, right? We actually have to use the transient token. So if you see here, the transient token, now if you click here, let's see what it is doing. So basically we have validated the pair authentication, and then we are calling the same thing, right? This call is same like here also the other scenario, right? Non-3ds, so the transient token we have to pass. So this is the same thing, we have to call the receipt and pass the transient token. So let's do that. And I see this error. I can explain why I see this error. So if you see here, it says bad request. So basically, since I didn't change my request, right, means I use the same payload, which is like, hard-coded payload. It has, means in test environment, it is thinking in last 15 minutes we are using the same payload. So it says it's a duplicate payload, and it's kind of a, that's why it's errored this out, that okay, if I do this transaction after 15 minutes, then I won't be seeing it, it will be a successful transaction. But since I use the same payload without making any changes, this is why it says, if you see, it says duplicate request and it's declined. And it says the merchant reference with this authorization request matches the merchant reference code of another authorization request that you sent in the last 15 minutes. So I either had to change the merchant reference code, or I need to do after 15 minutes. So, but overall thing, this is how it should work. Yeah. So this is the basically implementation. So final thing is, once we get the transient token, we will call this receipt. Just again want to show that call receipt, and we have to pass the transient token, and this will make a service call here, and this is calling payment API, create payment, and we are passing that request, and then that response is the final response where it will be successful or failure. Okay, so I hope I showed you whatever I implemented and tested, and this is very good POC done by CyberSource. And if you can understand this one, you can, I hope you can easily implement in your application. I didn't find any good video in YouTube. I tried a lot and I didn't find any good video in YouTube which is explaining for Java this overall implementation of unified checkout. So I tried to build this video. If it is helpful, please add some comments and share this video, and like and subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day. We'll come back with a new video soon.